Hey guys, Books Nelson here, back with another video, and I wanted to address one sentiment I'm seeing on Twitter that actually surprised me a little bit. But let's get into it and talk about exactly what we're saying. So one question I'm seeing asked is, why is this so much worse? Like, why is this bad? Why are people so angry? So let's talk about exactly why this is worse. Okay. So before we get into this, let's look at what it was in the past. In fact, we can look at the most recent collection. So the Cerebral collection had 6 cards that you could get, right? No matter what, you could earn these cards or buy them, whatever. And out of these cards, it's really not relevant how many of them are good or bad. It had some good cards in there. The opals were all usable. The pink diamonds, in my opinion, were all pretty bad, although I know some people like the Sohan for a defensive point guard. Fair point. But the quality of the cards is not quite as relevant with the gettable cards. I do personally think the collections are way better when at least one of these opals is very good, because you can either get that opal or get out. And if 2 of the opals are good, then depending on how you do with the deluxe packs, you might say, oh, I might as well lock in. When all of these cards are bad, then this is all just a tax on getting these cards, right? That's number 1. Number 2, let's look at these cards. So when you were locking in or pulling packs, whether you use MT or VC or whatever, no judgment from this channel here. You were most likely never going to see the 100 overall, so he doesn't matter. But then you look at the dark matters. Usually there are 1 or 2 weaker dark matters. Sometimes it's a flat out troll dark matter. Sometimes it's a dark matter that's not that good, but if you don't have an elite card at that position, it's playable, right? I don't think anybody from last week was unplayable. Probably the worst card was DeMar DeRozan. Paul George was elite. Oscar Robertson was elite. Ralph Sampson's very good. Tim Thompson's very good. And I've heard good things about Joe Johnson. All right. User mileage may vary. Point being, at the very worst, about half of these cards are good. And at the very best, they're all usable to some degree. And depending on who you have, might help your squad. Now, if you were pulling this collection and say you wanted Tim Thomas, which I don't think Troy Dan got a Tim Thomas after spending $2,000, but that's another topic for another day. On your way to Tim Thomas, you have an elite point guard in your way. You have an elite Paul George in your way, but these are all different cards. Obviously, pulling duplicates is a thing. It sucks. But if you pulled a bunch of them, you would eventually have a chance of getting the card you want. Not a good chance. Don't agree with this practice. This was bad, but this is worse. Why is this worse? Well, let's go back to it. First of all, only 4 cards you can actually pick up. All right. These cards at a glance look bad. We'll see what the SIGs are tomorrow to determine that. But now look at the cards that you can actually get. All right. There are only 4 dark matters from this collection. And really, from looking at it, you only want 1, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, if it was just this, the cards that are blocking you are the extremely troll, Chris Paul, the very likely troll, Paul Pierce, a decent usable, most likely card in Scotty Barnes. But now you also have 5, 6 Larry Birds in your way. And here's what's even worse about that. Not only do you have all of these duplicate Larry Birds, duplicate cards are worthless. Right? They're worthless in the game. This whole thing about the card being able to play all of these different positions, again, not particularly useful. It's only going to be useful for the centers in the game. Unless you're 6'10 or above, I'll say maybe, 6'10 or above, you only play 1 or 2 positions. The 1 or the 2-3, right? So, and that's just 2 cards. That's just it's a 1-2 or a 2-3. The 4-5 is irrelevant if you're undersized, especially when you're blocking me from the cards that I actually want, right? So that's worse. But you know what else is worse? Suppose you don't like this card at all. Now, some people really like the Dark Matter Larry Bird. And we're not even talking about how the fact that this is a card that we just got a few collections ago, right? And these are GOAT series, so these are once again going to be the same big names we got in the 100 overalls, most likely, right? If it's the GOAT series, you're talking about generally top 20-ish NBA players are who they're selecting from. So what are we going to see? LeBron, Jordan, probably another Kareem, Wilt Chamberlain, almost definitely, right? Because we only got an Opal Wilt. So you got that. But the thing is, if you don't like the card, say that Bill Russell, it'll be great that he can play every position, but half of those Bill Russells, you're not going to want to play at the 4-5, right? So it's worse because numerically, this lowers your chances of getting the dark matter you want. Just look at this Kareem card and every name that's in front of him, just put the word worse in your brain, right? So I want Kareem. Okay, but you might get Scotty Barnes. Okay, that's worse. But you might get Chris Paul. That's worse. But you might get Paul, and so on and so forth. And then so when you come over to Larry Bird and you go Larry Bird, Larry Bird, Larry Bird, what can happen is you can literally get 5 dark matter cards and they all be Larry Bird and Chris Paul, lowering your chance of getting the cards that you want. So when we talk about my team versus your team, this is significantly worse because if we go back to that same collection, imagine if now instead of, first of all, just looking at how many more cards there are is just almost overwhelming. But imagine instead of just what we have here, there was also 6 more Tim Duncans here, and 3 of the Tim Duncans, have he's a tall card, so he doesn't really count as this. But imagine if it was Jordan, right? Imagine there were 6 Michael Jordan cards in front of all of these. And many of those Michael Jordans have his garbage jumper, and half of them are playing power forward. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's objectively terrible. So this is why this is so bad. Because not only is everything still locked behind gambling, there's no real improvement on that in terms of the drop itself, although we will have some unlockable dark matter cards going forward, which is great. I mean, really, we should have dark matters in the player market. There should be at least 1 dark matter in the player market, 1 or 2. And you can make bad dark matters very easily, right? So they don't even have to be always awesome, but that gives you a hope. But the further we go forward, if we're going to get Galaxy Opals for the entire season, the further and further we get into the season, the less and less value these Opals are going to have. And particularly, I would say you almost certain they're not going to release an Opal as good as Ron Artest, right? Like, I just don't think they will. So without dark matters in the market, the chance of you going outside of the player market into this area here and this area here to get the card that you want is many, many times lower than what it was in previous seasons. And before, it wasn't good odds to begin with. The only thing that could possibly help this is if the odds are way better. But even if the odds are way better, again, let's say before you spend a bunch of MT and you go, I pulled 3 dark matters. 2 of them were duplicates, but I got 1 card I want. And you go, okay, well, that's a W because my team got better. You don't like the price, you don't like the situation, but it works. Now, you could literally say, I pulled 7 dark matters, and they were 2 Chris Pauls and two center Larry Birds, right? 1 power forward, small forward Larry Bird. Like, what are we talking about here? And Scotty Barnes. Like, you didn't come anywhere close to improving your team, yet you actually had good luck, quote unquote, good luck. So that's what's so bad. Just to close this out, you can have really great luck with the pack odds and lose terribly. Because before, if you had really great luck, again, with half of these cards, with the diversity of the cards, you're having not a good chance, but if you have really good luck, the chances of one of those cards helping your squad was way higher. And that wasn't even the best collection from last season, right? When we go back to the really good collections from last season, like a collection like this, imagine, and I'll close it out with this. Imagine how much more painful this would have been, this collection right here. And honestly, all of these cards are good. These cards can all play. If there was 5 again, I'll use Jordan as an example. If there were 5 or 6 Michael Jordans in here, half of them playing power forward center, that's objectively worse. So hopefully that answers the question about why is this so bad. I didn't want to just come in here and rant about this, but we cannot be confused about why 2K stinks. All right, guys, last I checked, we were almost at 990. We're right there at the edge. I can't believe it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Please like and subscribe. As always, appreciate your support. Absolutely overwhelmed by it. See you in the next one. Peace out.